Hello, good morning, trade pros. Welcome to our morning market update for Thursday, January the 18th of 2018. Another day living the dream and trading. Yesterday, we saw some upside. So we saw a short squeeze in equity markets that was uh, that really accumulated a lot of shorts the day before that on one of the biggest sell-offs we've seen in quite some time. And it was a reminder to a lot of traders that markets could go up and down. It's a double-sided market. Yesterday, we squeezed out some of those shorts, and today we're going to see what we have, what bag of nuts shows up to the trade floor in today's session. We're starting to see a little bit of early weakness, and in today's morning market update, we'll paint the picture as to why. All right, so we're going to talk about this morning about Bitcoin and why I think it's going to go up until tomorrow. There's a great trading opportunity in Bitcoin waiting for you. Some jobs information, and will the U.S. government shut down? That's a big question on everybody's mind. So let's get started. I have something in my eye. It's not out, but it's somewhere different in my eye now. It's repositioned. Earnings last night, we had some notable companies report earnings. Alcoa came out with earnings. It was down 6.7% after market. So keep an eye out on Alcoa. That's a company that officially kicks off the earnings season for Q4 of 2017. So the symbol is double AA. Keep an eye out on that company. Bank of America was down 0.2% after reporting weaker earnings and hurt by tax-related write-downs, as well as Goldman Sachs hurt on trading revenues down 2%. Kinder Morgan was up half a percentage point, and U.S. Bancorp down 1.5%. So some weaker earnings driven by the fact that these banks are having to announce and report massive write-downs for the tax overhaul that Donald Trump announced. So that's where the weakness is coming from. In Asia, Japan's down 0.4%. Hong Kong's up about the same. China's up 0.9%, and India's up 0.5%. So pretty bullish markets here in the Asian session, and that did not, however, spill over into London. In the mid-session here, London was down 0.5%. Paris was up just 0.1%. Frankfurt was up 0.3%. And the futures here in the morning in the United States aren't doing any better. They're pretty much flat across the board. Dow's up 1/10, S&P's up 1/10, while NASDAQ is down 1/10 of a percentage point. So early momentum in Asia that was spilled over from the close of last night's U.S. session. So U.S. traders push prices up into Asia as well. Asia participated in the upside, and now we're getting a flat or a stalling out of that rally. So today is a new day and a new opportunity. So look out for that. All right, crude oil is down today 0.1%. And I think in today's session, you continue to sell rallies on crude. There's going to be some big things happening on the weekend. I'll tell you about that in a moment about crude oil. And if you're in a position, you might want to tighten your stops and take some profit because we could get a lot of volatility in the oil market when it's closed. So it'll be closing on the reopen at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. You could get a fair bit of movement against you or in your favor. So tighten your stops. I'll tell you why in a moment. Bitcoin is up 4% after hitting our third and final support to the downside yesterday. We have a great video coming out on YouTube this weekend that's going to explain how to find key and low risk buying opportunities with high probability. And we use Bitcoin as an example. All right. For Bitcoin, tomorrow is the expiry of the first futures contract that was listed in the Chicago Board Options Exchange, a CBOE, but it was listed on their futures market. But it's a CBOE. It's not the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, a CME. It's the CBOE. It's the first contract ever listed. It's about to expire. The statistics on that contract is there's about 800 to 850 contracts of Bitcoin that are net short. And I've told you, institutions over the last little bit have been building out short positions on Bitcoin, and they haven't been buying it. However, tomorrow, towards the close of trading at 4 p.m., around that time, these institutional traders that are short Bitcoin are going to be forced to buy back those futures contracts in order to get out of their short position. It's called covering their short or short covering rally. And what you could do with that information is knowing that those institutional traders have to buy back, try to get long Bitcoin on a low risk opportunity today and sell it into the close on Friday. That should be a pretty easy trade to do. Just keep your eye out, manage your risk, and obviously don't take trade recommendations from a guy on YouTube. I'm being dead serious. Even if it's me, make sure the trade aligns with your risk, your tolerance, your objectives, and most importantly, your strategy, because you do have one. All right. So that's kind of the information that I'm telling you about Bitcoin. I can see a little bit of a rip going into the close of tomorrow's session, and that's driven on the fact that these institutional traders got to cover their shorts by being buyers into that close. So there you go. You heard it here first. Let's talk about the U.S. government. Will the U.S. government shut down? Donald Trump yesterday said that a proposal, bipartisan deal on border security, he called it horrible and very, very weak on immigration reform. So this is something Democrats want to avoid, and Donald Trump continues to kind of stick on this point. And here's what I think is happening. I think he doesn't want the government to get a stopgap bill. I think he does want a shutdown so he could use that as leverage to negotiate some future bills. It's not, if the government shuts down, basically, if they don't pass any kind of kick the can down the road deal, which would give them an extension for 1 month to have some more ongoing talks and actually pass longer term legislation. If that doesn't happen by today, the government effectively shuts down on Monday. They don't have enough money in the United States to pay all the government employees and all the branches of government to operate. So they're going to have to start closing down some non-vital operations of the U.S. government. Now, that sounds like it would be a panic situation, but it's happened before many times, and it's unfortunately become as a negotiation chip for lawmakers to say, well, it's shut down and you did this to the people and it's your fault that the post office workers are at home not getting paid. I think that's sick. I don't think it's appropriate one bit to mess with people's livelihoods in politics just like that. That doesn't rub me the right way. But however, point is, in those periods of government shutdown, the S&P 500 is down an average of 0.6%. So just know that statistic. That could bring about some weakness. Is there a chance the deal gets done today? There is. Paul Ryan, Speaker here in the House for the Republicans, says that it won't be necessary for a shutdown to happen. He's close to gathering enough votes to pass this bill in the House. However, it then goes to Senate, where the Democrats are more than likely going to oppose it. Not more than likely. They guaranteed they will oppose that bill in hopes of getting some leverage on immigration reform. So if this thing doesn't get done, if a major bill doesn't get passed today, chances of that happening are very low. Then the next conversation is, are they going to extend this deadline for funding 1 more month? And if the answer to that is no, then the government is shut down. All right. If they can't agree to at least extend the deadline, it's a shutdown as of Monday. And as it progresses longer and longer, more and more branches of government will shut down. And theoretically, if it continues, the whole government will shut down because they don't have any money. All right. But government is not a revenue generating unit. The government just takes your money and spends it and makes law, which is weird. You should be making law. You and I, technically we do. All right. That's that rant. Rant/over. Keep an ear out for the news today. That's very, very important. And I think that could drive some bearish sentiment. Today is vital to have a news wire. One really nice news wire is financialjuice.com. It's free. It's live, real-time news squawks. It's not always prompt, but it's good enough if you want to go the free route. For a paid news wire, Trade the News is highly recommended. It's in most proprietary companies around the world. All right. What else do I got to talk to you about? NAFTA. All right. So tomorrow, wait, is it tomorrow? One moment. Hold on a moment while I read before I regurgitate to you. Just kidding. I read this before. There's NAFTA talks will start tomorrow in Montreal, where U.S. Canada will sit down and try to negotiate a NAFTA deal. Donald Trump has said many times that he's thinking of pulling out of this entire NAFTA pact, and a lot of critics are saying it's the wrong move. He's kind of bent, or he's going towards it. That's his target. It looks like he wants to withdraw from NAFTA. This is the 6th of 7 negotiations, so we're running out of time. So if there is a deal announced for NAFTA being pulled out, the Canadian dollar is going to get crushed, Mexican peso is going to get destroyed, and I don't know how equities are going to react. They'll probably sell off as well. Now, this is troubling, but at the same time, Donald Trump wants to wage war with China, a trade war, not an arms war, but a trade war, by labeling them as stealing or theft of intellectual property. And to that, he says, we're talking about big damages. We're talking about numbers that you haven't even thought about. So he's going to probably slap a massive fine on them. What will China do to respond? Well, they're going to increase their yuan, make their exports more expensive for the United States to import. They're going to slap some levies of their own. They're going to start to form alliances outside of the U.S. with Russia. And if the petrodollar drops in the United States and the reserve currency falls out, and there's another agreement with some of those, look, here's the deal. This is something nobody's talking about. Countries in OPEC and oil exporters and producers, they're already starting to talk with China and Russia. That's something that's never happened before, that you would have heard and never believed, but they're starting to put some pieces in the background that are starting to lay the foundation for getting rid of the US dollar as the reserve currency and the international currency for trading in oil. If that petrodollar status falls for the United States, massive problems. Treasuries will get dumped. A lot of problems will start to open up. Just be very cautious in these type of markets, and look out to see what happens with NAFTA and this trade war. That could be the beginning of a firing shot. That could be a warning shot fired that could start a whole process that would be very, very bad for markets. So that's something else you got to keep an eye out for. And last but not least, this weekend, OPEC and its allies are meeting to discuss their global oil output production freeze. So as you guys know, OPEC has agreed to limit the amount of oil they supply into the market. And by doing so, they've caused a massive rally in prices. By controlling what you output, if demand has increased or stays the same, prices will go up. That's what we've seen in oil. However, Russia has said, we ain't happy with this pact. We might want out a little bit earlier. That was said last week by the Russian energy minister. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The United States shale output or offshore drilling has currently been slated for an output of 11 million barrels a day next year. That's a massive output. So while OPEC is working to create this production cut, the prices are going up, but who's benefiting from that? The United States, by upping their output because they're not part of the pact. So they're saying, hey, thank you, OPEC, for keeping prices so high and not selling oil. We'll take that and we'll sell it into the market. So supply has actually not reduced on a global level when you factor in the US output. Here's the shocking part. United States offshore oil right now is currently putting out more than Saudi Arabia and Russia, not combined, but individually. So obviously, this is not going to rub OPEC the right way. Obviously, it's important enough that they're having a meeting about it this weekend. If they pull out of this production cut agreement early, look for oil to sell off 10, 15% on the day that it's announced. You got a big trade coming potentially. Stay tuned. How do you be on board for that early? Start selling oil rallies now. Weakness is coming, but be cautious and set your stops. That's what I got for you guys today, a little more extensive than usual. Have yourselves a wonderful morning. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the last morning market update of the week. I encourage you guys and I invite you to join us in our daily live trading room every day from 9 to 11 a.m. We trade together as a group, and it's the best environment on the internet. All right? That's all I'm going to say. See you guys there. Take care. Have yourselves a great day. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at the open at 9 a.m. All the best. Have a wonderful session. Good luck. Manage your risk. Trade like a trade pro. Take care. Goodbye. All right, trade pros, let's get down to business. There's some news right now out of the government. I'm listening to The Wire.